Welcome, everybody, to this week's Amazing Race recap. A lot of drama headed your way, so prepare. Joining me tonight, as always, is Goldberg. Goldberg, what's up?
What's going on, guys?
And no introduction needed with Calbert. Calbert, the floor is yours. Feel free to vent any frustrations that you may have.
I'm just happy to be here. glad my team at least finished fourth, like I thought they would. Bunch of stupid morons. Read the clue, people. That's going to be the tagline for the show for the season this year. Read the clue. You read the clue, you win. You don't read the clue, you lose. It's that simple.
Yeah, it really is. But man, you think it's easy? I don't know if it's like easier said than done or what, but just crazy. I don't know if it's adrenaline, horse blinders, they're just not paying attention, but so many times we have seen this happen. So tonight, generally speaking, did you guys like this episode, Calbert?
No.
I mean, besides the fact that your team got eliminated.
No. There wasn't really anything there, and the tasks that they had to do were relatively simple. Very simple. Like, look, I have a 12-inch shoe that I wear. I don't look great in heels. I'm kind of ruining this for later on in the show, but I'm going to get to it now. I don't look great in heels either, but it wasn't that freaking hard. It
Not
wasn't
for
that
Will and James, it wasn't.
James enjoyed it.
They've done that before, haven't they?
They were running full speed with those.
Oh,
right.
Man.
I mean, no, I would say that was the worst episode of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I mean, we started off with the buses where they had to meet the guy who was doing the dancing in the middle of in traffic, a lot of traffic. They had to get the clue. It looked like here Hung and Chi missed them, and so did Will and James. Garen D'Angelo got out to an early lead here. Calbert, you had to be thinking, okay, maybe my team right now can get a good head start and get this thing rolling.
I did feel good. I felt really good, and then I didn't exactly expect to know what was going to happen with the challenge of the heels, but I was like, okay, they're doing good. It's something's gonna, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, something's gonna happen that they might stumble, but they did relatively well. They at the beginning they crushed the challenge that they needed to crush, and I was feeling pretty good. I'm like, okay, you know what? They could actually finish second, and they could surprise me, because I said last week that the three teams are going to team up against them because they don't like them for I don't know what reason, because they didn't honor the alliance to the way the other three teams wanted. I mean, if that's the case, okay, that's a dumb reason, but we've seen, teams come up with crazy reasons for getting rid of people just because for the entire series of the show. So, but yeah, I felt pretty good. I was like, okay, this is going to be fine. So,
yeah, the guy's name was Ramiro Hinojas, and they had to solve a riddle to get to him. It was at the intersection of Macapagal Boulevard and Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, and they had to reach their hands out to grab the next clue from Hinojas as they drove past him. So, I thought this was okay. Nothing great. I guess it was cool to see the dancing traffic enforcer. Goldberg, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought reaching out of the bus to get the clue, I thought that part was kind of cool. But I actually, when Gary and D'Angelo got out to the early lead, I mean, stepping back as a guy who let me just forget that I picked Will and James to win the whole thing. I was hoping that Gary and D'Angelo would surprise us here and maybe get through these challenges and not give the other three a chance to team up on them, because I wanted to see them. I don't want to spoil the end, but I was hoping that they would get through this and make the other three duke it out against each other. But I mean, I guess that lead didn't last very long, but that's what I was hoping to see.
And then after that, they went to outside the Mall of Asia. Teams had to run one lap around the Esplanade while wearing high-heeled shoes, much like the Tour de Takong in Marikina, to receive their next clue. This was odd, but I mean, I guess I could see why they do it. I mean, it's embarrassing.
Think, Leo
teams,
was at
but...
home banging his remote control at the TV because
with those tight pants, huh?
He would have zoomed through this.
So yeah, this was. I think we may have. Was this before the finding the lions, or was this after the lions?
This was before finding the lions.
Okay, so this was the next thing they had to do. Oh yeah, you're right. So at this point, it looked like, you know, Gary and D'Angelo. They were still in first, but then they got passed up while racing, right?
Correct. That wouldn't be the only team that would get passed up while racing, but because I was under the impression that it when I saw it, I was like, oh, when I saw the course, I was like, okay, pretty much all they have to do is just finish. That's when I first looked at it, I was like, that's not that terribly hard. I mean, yeah, it would suck to be doing it, you know, being in heels, and you know, you don't want to get hurt, because everybody talks about not twisting an ankle, like turning the cone, right, going from one end to the other. But you could get passed by another team if you went too slow. Now, in, you know, hindsight being 2020.
It almost seemed like, I mean, the more muscular you were in the legs, the worse you did.
Mm-hmm.
I no offense to Will and James, but they just cruised on this challenge. This was, I want to say, this is not the first time they've worn high heels.
I believe James even said, Will even said, I have a pair that is similar to this. It's not exactly my size, but I have a pair that is similar to. Which that's kind of like, you know, you go to a bowling alley, right? And you're playing with your buddy, and your buddy, you know, your buddy has his own ball and his own shoes. He doesn't rent the shoes like everybody else, you know, and then suffers through trying to put the shoes on, and you know, that's what it felt like to me anyway, you know. So
Goldberg, I mean, you had to have been cheering for Will and James here, passing all these teams.
You know, yeah, I mean, as a guy who picked them, I was cheering for them, but this whole episode just rubbed me the wrong way with those three teams, and it was making me not even root for the team that I picked, because it's just, I'm gonna save my thoughts for the end of the episode, but it's just, I mean, are you guys as sick of hearing the word alliance as I am?
yes,
I was a couple episodes ago.
I mean, like, I get it, okay, but like, just take it down a notch.
Yeah.
I mean, like, at some point, like I was thinking, because it was so, I just knew what was going to happen. I knew what was coming. I think we all knew what was coming, and just like,
we didn't want it to.
We didn't want it to. But at what point do you say, like, let's be real, the Beard Bros are probably the number one team right now. Like, at what point do you say, let's get them out of here? Why even have them make the final episode? Let's team up and let's get them out of here. And hey, then it's anybody can win. Like, why not? Or turn your back on Will and James. Turn your back on Ang and Chi. Like, try to get one of those teams out. Like, at what point do you turn your back on them? Because now that, you know, okay, I'll save it for the end. But
I thought there was a crucial mistake that was made by my team towards the end. That's really what cost them. But I'll save it to I'll save it to the point. But we're gonna get to it. It was was something very simple that they could have done.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
So then after we had this, after passing through the Arch of Goodwill, teams had to search Venado for the one lion dancer out of 4 that had their next clue in its mouth. So it looked like, okay, so this is where Gary and D'Angelo kind of get back their groove a little bit. It seemed like they were first to get the clue, I believe.
Correct.
They got back out in front between Riley and Madison and Will and James. And it actually seemed like Hung and Chi, they got dropped off to the wrong place, it looked like.
And they struggled with this too.
They did.
struggled with
This was weird. This was a weird thing that they had to just randomly try to reach into people's mouths.
Yeah, it was. It was very.
But we
strange.
go back to India, right? Where Hung says, if I had to give the guy a colonoscopy to win the $1 million, that's what I'm going to do. Well, stick your freaking hand in the mouth.
Yeah, she'll give a colonoscopy, but she won't turn her back on two other teams.
And pull the clue out of a guy wearing a lion in a costume, which I wasn't sure if they were trying to go for a dragon there, but it doesn't matter. Keep going.
And then, Gary and D'Angelo, this is probably their peak of the episode here. Then after that, outside the Manila Central Post Office, teams were instructed to prepare a feed for a horse attached to a Calesa in Laisoang, Bonifacio, by obtaining ingredients from 3 nearby vendors to receive their next clue. So this is probably where the lead was lost for Gary and D'Angelo, never to come back. I believe the Volley Bros really did really well here. So did Will and James. Both of them did really, really well. Gary and D'Angelo, they missed the grass, it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
For a little bit. I don't think it derailed them by any means, but it looks like they took a while at this, finding all these ingredients.
Right, because they walked by it, which that's the thing too. That there was the classic red and yellow Amazing Race identifier.
Yes.
Which, if had they been paying attention, this isn't the nail in the coffin quite yet. But this is the first nail that goes, okay, you literally just walked by it. You got to pay attention. You got to pay attention, and that's the thing too. Like, had they paid attention at that point, they would have been neck and neck with the Volley Bros at that point. Because I don't foresee Will and James were still trying to figure out. I'm sorry, Hung and Chi were still trying to figure out trying to get the clue out of the lion's mouth, and Will and James were still trying to get the ingredients. So, this is the part where, okay, time to make up some time. We know whatever little lead that we had is evaporated now. So attention to detail. They walked by it. Didn't really cost them, right? But it was just like, oh crap, we did walk by it. That, our bad. We messed up. We'll fix it. So.
Yeah, that, and knowing what we know, if they didn't get out to that lead, they knew they were going to get teamed up on. So it was like kind of a lose-lose situation there almost. So then from that point, they went to the Neon Garden. Teams had to listen to a band playing 4 songs that they heard during earlier legs. They then had to find the 4 instrument cases marked with the flags of the respective countries where they heard the songs and present them to the band in the order that they visited the countries, not the order the band was playing them to receive their next clue. Right. So this is where everybody screwed up. Hung and Chi were the first to figure this out. And that's not the first time Hung and Chi found something out and then had to tell everybody else. So
they didn't have to, but
no, but they somehow keep doing it. And I don't know.
And here's the twofold problem. The first part of the problem that my team had was D'Angelo asked, "Do you want to work together?" And every other team, Will and James in particular, I remember Will and James specifically saying, "No, we don't want to work together." the second part of the problem that D'Angelo and Gary had, at least for me, was for not randomly reading the clue. They were pretty freaking close with their very first guess. They were very close. They were one country off. Right? They were one country off. I believe
they almost got it by blind luck.
By blind luck.
Yep.
So you now know, if you're D'Angelo and Gary, you now know, because Hung and Chi are smart, everybody is standing there at this particular point. And Will and James and Hung and Chi are going, we're not going to share with anybody. Riley and Madison doing the same thing. They all freaking start to whisper. If I'm D'Angelo and Gary, if I'm on that team, I'm freaking standing there like a fly to light. I'm not moving until they move. I'm going to mimic them all the way through, because eventually they're going to work on the combination, and even the combination that all three of those teams worked on didn't work. They tried that, right? They all went and wrote the clue again and went, oh, duh, we should have gone from the order of the country that we went to, not the order of the songs that are being played. So if I'm D'Angelo and Gary, I'm freaking standing there. There are no rules now at this point. There are no rules. So there isn't a rule that says, you know what, Gary and D'Angelo, you shouldn't team up with Will and James or Hung and Chi or the Volley Bros. There are no rules. Freaking stand there, and when one team figures it out, you go, okay, this is what we need to do. And you know what? Then it's a race to the mat at that point. Don't freaking give up and go, I don't know if this is right. I don't know.
D'Angelo has more of a defeatist attitude than I thought, though, because once he saw them teaming up, it changed his whole attitude, and he was done. He gave up.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of doing your idea, which is actually in hindsight, it's a pretty good idea. Maybe something I would have thought of on the spot, because I would have been so pissed that they were teaming up. Maybe I would have gone over there just to stir up some trouble, even. But the fact that he gave up like that, and his whole attitude just completely changed.
And you know, I mean, and judging by where the map was from where they were, I mean, with editing, it pretty much looked like it was just, you know, it was down the way about probably a half mile.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you're struggling, I think your nature should be to go read the clue again, like right away almost, because maybe you might have forgot something.
How many times though that you're right? Like that is not the first time in this show, in this season, that we've seen people arguing over whether they should reread a clue. Like, I don't understand why it's such a big controversy to just reread the clue.
And it's the top, and that's the thing too. It's the top teams that are doing this. The three teams that are there with actually, no, I take that back, because the table setting, Riley and Madison had to, Riley had to rethink how to do. Every team, they do that. They go, okay, I know what to do, and then they all just go, I don't freaking remember. Oh, let's reread the clue after we've been standing here for over an hour. Like I don't understand that. I mean, so that's what I would have done, because at that point, look, every team already, if I'm D'Angelo and Gary, every team already hates me. So, you know, have a little bit more fire under you if you're Gary and D'Angelo, and say, no, screw it, we're playing for $1 million. This is what we're doing. There are no friends at this point, you know. And if I'm Will and James or Hung and Chi or the Volley Bros, okay, fine. This is how they did it. You know, had Gary and D'Angelo and Vance. This is how they did it. We're gonna make sure, you know, that they don't beat us. You know?
And this is what I was saying 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Don't play chess. Play checkers.
Right.
And they played chess, unfortunately. If they would have got the Volley Bros, if they would have U-turned the Volley Bros, this would be a whole new ball game.
Right.
In my opinion, because I'm sorry. I think this should be a warning to any team that goes on the Amazing Race in the future. Get the stronger teams out. Don't go for the weaker teams. I just don't see how that's going to help you out. Even if you're alliance or no alliance, you got to go for the stronger teams, in my opinion. It's just smarter racing.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, though, alternatively, is the fact that they didn't go after the weaker teams, and now you could say
They
top
made
three teams are, but they got there. I mean, it
Right.
worked.
That's
And they're
true.
there, and now you have a 1 in 3 chance of winning. I mean, who's to say if let's say Will and James turn their back on the alliance 2-3 episodes ago, then there's a target on their back, and then they may not make it to the final 3. So I guess it worked in a sense, but as viewers, it's probably not the most interesting storyline.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's definitely true. But it's like, if I'm bringing the Blondes to the final 3, or whoever, Leona, Alana, I'm feeling pretty good about my chance to win the whole thing. Whereas now, I got to go up against the 2 other toughest teams from the season. You're gonna have to really earn it to win it all.
And if I'm specifically Will and James, since they I mean their disdain for D'Angelo Williams is just about as strong as the Volley Bros. If I'm Will and James, you stand there, you work together, and if D'Angelo and Gary beat me to the mat, then they beat me to the mat. Then I they figured out the clue a half a second faster than I did. Right. Okay. I'd love to win the show if I'm Will and James, right? Because but that's not what they chose to do. They chose to have the alliance. Like, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow night. We do know one thing for sure: a team's going to win $1 million. The team that finishes in second, and the team that finishes in third, they're going to go, oh well, at least we got to the final 3. Is that's where we're at now? Okay, it's acceptable. Congratulations, golf clap. You made it to the final 3 of the Amazing Race season 32. Good job. But you didn't win.
Yeah, and they made it that much tougher for themselves too.
Right.
Kind of what I'm thinking.
Right. So was it really worth it? Because Lord knows the only thing that was missing at the mat, which I'm going to ruin here by saying this, D'Angelo and Gary decided to sit and take the penalty, the 2-hour penalty, which was just so freaking stupid. That's what frustrated me, is that they sat there. They didn't continue to try and figure it and go, okay, like that's another thing. So like if I'm Gary and D'Angelo, okay, Riley and Madison were the first team to figure out the puzzle. Go run over there and figure out what country you're missing, and go, oh, it's that one, because there was no rule that said you had to wait for that team that's getting judged, right? That they had to finish first before you could go over there. Like, Go over there and finish it. Don't go. You know what? It's nap time. 2 hours. We can't figure it out. That's the frustrating thing. And I mean, yeah. So the only thing that's missing from the mat ceremony was plastic wrap and champagne, and them spraying each other with it. It's the only thing that was missing. They had everything else minus the cigars. You had the 3-way high fives. You had everybody jumping up and down, celebrating like they won the championship. Okay, cool. You guys accomplished what you wanted to accomplish.
We also had the memory challenge, which was in the penultimate leg, which normally the memory challenge is in the final leg. So that leads me to believe that there's not going to be a memory challenge on the final leg because they did it for this leg. So I thought that was interesting.
I thought that was it too. Yeah.
Clearly it was tough because nobody really, I mean, they took them forever to get this. So.
And good on the judge, like insulting every team as they go back and forth. You have to do better. Try better. Nope, that's not right. Good. You know what? I'm having to freaking stand out as the teams are bitching as they're going back to the van to figure out what country they need to get. I'm having to freaking stand out here and judge this just as much as you are. I'm not happy. I'm not getting. I mean, the reward for me is I get to say you get to go on to the finals. I don't get anything after that. I'm gonna insult you right along with it. No, you're being dumb. Stop being dumb. So I like that part. That was actually probably one of the best parts.
So are we discussing the finish line now?
Yeah, we
Or
could.
am I weird?
Yeah, because this episode just there's really not a lot to break down because it was just one big thing. You know, it was
Yeah.
there was no detours, no roadblocks. I mean, the puzzle was. I didn't mind the puzzle. I thought the puzzle was the best part. But
Right.
the fact that none of these teams could figure this out besides Hung and Chi. Well, Riley and Madison were kind of onto it, but then Hung and Chi was the only one to really read the clue and be like, "Oh, we've been doing it wrong the whole time."
But then they tried the combination, and they tried. I mean, they went freaking calculus on it to the
Yeah.
16th degree, and they still didn't get it right. So that didn't work either. Like they all tried to team up, and that still didn't work. So it still almost backfired on them. All three of them. And they went old school with it too, with like a pen and a piece of paper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
So go ahead.
I really wonder, like Gary and D'Angelo, like they basically said they were never going to get it, and they didn't even have a clue. Like they were just randomly guessing. Like I just don't know what was going through their head. Like they just couldn't pick up the songs, or they couldn't. If I was them, I would have just backtracked and hey, let's take 5 minutes. Let's discuss where we've all been, where there was music. You know what I mean? Like, and then just break it down that way because I don't think there was music on every single episode. Not
Well, right.
to my knowledge.
And let's take it a step further backwards. Okay, let's say they don't, because clearly they didn't read the clue. So you don't read the clue. Okay, so if it's me and you and we're at this challenge, the very first thing that you and I probably do is we go, okay, we should probably put it in order of what the band is playing. If we're not going to read the clue, right? We're gonna put the songs in order from what the band is playing. Okay, and if we're wrong, then we go, okay, maybe it's France, da 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 da.
Yeah.
That's what I would, and then I would have been like, okay, that one was wrong. We'll try a different. Maybe it's just a different combination. So we go, blah France, blah blah, right? So, but they didn't do that. None of them really did that. And so, like, I mean, if I was just going at it cold turkey, that's the first thing I'm going. Okay, I'm going to play it off of what the band's going to play. Because every team was like, I don't remember. I think every team almost said that. I don't remember a lot of music being played, which they're right. There really wasn't, unless you weren't paying attention, So, but that's what I would have done. And then I would have just tried like a couple different combinations. I wouldn't have just went, Then I would have said to you, okay, I know this one's right? This one is correct. It might not necessarily be in the right order, but this one was you. This one was definitely during the show, right? And we would have just bounced ideas off each other. Like that's what you do. You don't go, I don't know if the order's exactly right, or none of this makes sense. Did we even go to this country? Which a lot of freaking teams said that, which just made me laugh.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
so our place. I just want to get the placings real quick, and then we'll talk about the interview with Gary and D'Angelo. But first place was Riley and Madison Volley Bros. Second place was Will and James. Third was Hung and Chi, and fourth was D'Angelo and Gary. And the famous line, well, did you enjoy your time on the race? No, the race sucked. Come on, that was one of the most epic.
Well, he followed it up by
promos.
Saying, and he followed it up by saying, "I'm a former football player. I could have gone to any of these countries anytime
I that part.
Yep.
Was poor. He took it too far.
Yes,
took
he
it
did.
too far.
But
he could have said it wasn't. I didn't have a good time. Could have said I didn't have a good time though because
right
of the way they teamed up on us at the end. It was ridiculous and whatever.
Right.
Although they were okay being a part of the alliance for as long as they thought they were. So it
turns out that Madison were right in hindsight that Gary and D'Angelo were only using the alliance for their.
It's true. And then I saw. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Gary and D'Angelo's. They have a little podcast. where they've been having on like teams from the show, and they had the volley bros on, and one of them basically straight up came out and said that when they got the answer, the sauerkraut answer,
Hmm.
and then they stole the cab right after that,
Yeah.
the volleyball guy straight up said that's when we kind of dropped you from the alliance, and that part rubbed everybody the wrong way, that you took the answer and then you just stole the cab, and then in the cab kind of just said, oh well, sucks for them. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I guess they got dropped from the alliance. But before, like, I just want to talk about the reaction of the other three teams when they got to the finish line. This was the most over the top celebration. I mean, didn't you guys think it was kind of ridiculous that all three of them are hugging, and
Oh,
like
absolutely.
almost as if all three of them won the money? I mean, unless they made some kind of deal off camera and said the three of them are going to split the million no matter what, there is absolutely no reason to celebrate like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all villains in a movie. That was my reaction to it. I'm like, they're all like villains in a movie. The only thing that's missing is the maniacal laughing, and maybe Mr. Burns playing a. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, unless they're chopping the pot, maybe they're chopping the pot and we just
Yeah.
don't know about it, because
Right.
that there is no reason to celebrate like that, unless you know you won money. I'm not celebrating for two other teams. I don't care how close I became with them. I don't care. We made it to the final three. My thing that I'm saying is hey, glad we made it. May the best team win. Am I hugging them and kissing them? And I mean, come on, give me a break.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no thrill of competition right now. It's just, I don't know. Like there's,
Maybe something will happen in the final episode.
I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, they all they can't work together anymore. So
No, they're all gonna sing Kumbaya.
dude, and that's what I said. That's
and
what I
then
said.
they're
They're all
Wait a
gonna
minute.
wait for each other, hold hands, and then
What if they step
at
foot
the
on the
same-
mat at the same time? What would happen?
Yep.
What would happen?
That's a good thought.
Gosh.
That's a good thought.
Could you imagine if they
The
did
show would
that?
get canceled.
Yes, it would.
That would be the end. That would be the end of the Amazing Race.
Maybe
As
they
we-
can't physically actually at the very exact moment though align their feet. So maybe they go to the replay. Somebody's
that's-
stepping on that mat first.
It's happened. It's happened though. It's not in the final leg, but it happened one of the earlier seasons on. It was like one of the early legs. Two teams like stepped on the mat at the same time. I think they might have held hands even. Who knows? I don't know. But
One
they
of them
did.
got
They
eliminated?
like basically tied. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we got to see something interesting happen here where somebody tries to screw over another team. And I would not, everybody right now is saying Will and James will be the team that probably will stab anyone in the back or do anything. I'm convinced that the volleyballers they'll stab anyone in the back right now. I don't trust them for a second.
I agree. And Hung's just going to help out everybody who asks anything from her. So,
Which
what
will
kind
probably
of two straight guys gets that excited with two other teams though? Like, why were the Beards that excited with Will and James and Hung and like? What's I'm sorry, is it Hung or Chi? What's the guy's name?
Chi.
Okay, come on. Like, he was just trying to act like he was excited, but he was just going through the motions. The other five were just like so over the top, like so happy. Like, why? I just don't get how the Beard Bros could be that excited, like genuinely that happy. You're really that happy? Like, nothing happened yet.
From a race standpoint, it's not good. It's not good at all.
Well,
But that happy.
But that's a good point though, Goldberg, because at the end of the day, somebody's finishing third, somebody's finishing second. But they're going to turn to the winner and go, well, at least we'll have the Philippines to think about. Not
Well, somebody said on Twitter, which is funny, the joke's on the teams that don't win, that don't finish first, the other two, because Gary and D'Angelo probably won the second most money. They got $15,000 apiece on that one leg. Remember?
Yeah, they did.
That's probably the second most that a team will win, or third most.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, the other two.
Sure
don't win. I mean, that's for me. I think they have played this horribly, but I don't know. I just think.
Well, I think if D'Angelo won the money, it sounds to me like he would have wiped his ass with it anyway. I think he needs it. So.
Well, that wasn't good because, like, you know how many people try to get on this show?
It's not. It's not. They had no. Okay, I get it. They're celebrities. You want some notoriety, maybe on the show, but maybe they should have been playing for a charity or something. Because
Well, even Gary said while he was standing there, he's like, I enjoy traveling the country and seeing things. Like, at
but the
least,
money aspect of it,
yes, right,
they don't need it. I mean, they don't need it. Neither one of them needs it.
right.
So
And that part was that part was true. I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, as a former athlete, I get that part. Now, granted, I wouldn't say that. I would have said that I'm pissed at Will and James, or I'm pissed at the Volley Bros for screwing us over. Yeah, I could. Yeah, and then followed up by saying, yes, being a former football player, I could have done this anytime I wanted. This sucked. But yeah, I mean, Casseroles is right. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that apply for this show every year that don't make it. So
Yeah, myself included.
right. I mean, so, but like at the end of, I mean, that's why I know I'm playing a little bit of Switzerland here, but what was he supposed to say? You know, it's hard to get the former athlete out of the head, right? You go, you're a competitor, like. You know, no,
I mean, I guess I appreciate the honesty in a way, but
right. No, I just, no, I'm just glad I was here. I'm glad I almost made it to the top 3.
Okay, but maybe as bad as his little comment was that he could have done this and he didn't need the money and all that shit.
Sure.
The other 3 teams celebrating was worse to me. That was worse than D'Angelo's comments.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd agree with that. Yeah.
I expect Will and James to do that. I don't expect the other teams to do it.
The Beard Bros are the ones that piss me off the most. What are you doing? You're right. Will and James, it makes sense for them to do that. And even, Hong or Chi, the girl, makes sense for her to be celebrating. Like, but what are they celebrating for, man? It makes them look so stupid.
That's the thing too. Like, if we're right, and Goldberg and I believe that Will and James are going to win this thing. Just guessing. We don't know. The Volley Bros are going to go, oops. Well, at least we finished in the top 3. That's acceptable. We partied really hard in the Philippines to get here, but, people are going to remember us because we were in the top 3. No, they're going to remember you because you had beards, but that's about it. Like, I don't think they're like a memorable team other than that. Like, if Hung and Chi won it, they're husband and wife. Okay, they got kids. That makes sense. Not necessarily that they're memorable, but it would make more sense.
Well, Will and James winning, I would say if they win, they're pretty memorable.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, probably one of the most hated teams of all time.
Which I still like. I don't get that. Because there's no reason to hate them any more than the other 2 teams. Why? If anything, you should have some respect for them. The way they handled the whole Leo and Alana thing, and the blondes, and playing the game. I mean, at least they played the game. Yeah, they were in this alliance, the game, but yeah,
I agree. They're definitely playing the game. I think what's frustrating is how nobody can see them playing the game.
Exactly.
That's the thing. Right.
Normally, when people play the game, they get turned on. Like on a show like Survivor or something. Like
we got a bunch of, and I know Calbert's not going to like this comment, but we got a bunch of LeBron Jameses. We need more Michael Jordans.
No, that's right. No, you're exactly right. Like, that's the thing, and I think that overall for the show, because we're all fans of the show. At least we were this season. Like, that's not going to... Whoever wins, if I'm right and it's Will and James, and if Goldberg's right and it's Will and James, it's memorable for that. So at least they played the game, and they played chess while everybody else played checkers.
Yeah.
And I applied for the show 9 times and finally won.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I guess that's a sentimental story for the show, but it's not going to be remembered as like, unless let me backtrack. Unless it is a dead sprint to the mat where it's within half a step, right?
Something crazy, right? I agree.
Where you go, oh man, Will and James beat the Volley Bros by half a step, and that's because they're a little shorter around, where the Volley Bros are kind of taller, so the height played a factor. Like, I mean, unless it's something like that, I mean, I don't know necessarily if this can be remembered for that. Like, and that's the thing too. Like, I'm fine with Will and James telling to turn Leo and Alana when they did it.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. I mean, they're playing the game. The fact that D'Angelo stood there and asked both Will and James, "Do you want to work together?" And the fact that they said no, like, basically they said no, we can't, which was bullshit. And all three of us know it was bullshit because there are no rules when it comes to this thing, especially in this last leg. There are no rules. So you go, no, we're not gonna work with you, but we'll work with the other two because we are under the impression that we can beat them. Why? Because Hung will give out all the clues.
I almost look at it though like Will and James, kind of right, like we're playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers, like almost like Riley and Madison and Hung and Chi are kind of suckers in this regard, where Will and James have done what it takes to get to the final episode, while the volleyballers it almost seemed like they were going to get there anyway, right? They've been the best team the whole time, so there was really no need for them to be in an alliance. They never really like came to a point where they really needed the alliance, did they? Like, when
No.
I can't remember a time other than maybe that thing with the iPad where they had to appear
With
I think they didn't know, but pretty much nobody kind of got the hang of that right away. So
right.
there was nothing really.
There
in
was
all these, yeah.
the gardening challenge. I'm not sure if that would have really mattered. I mean, they probably would have figured it out, but they did get help with there too.
But then again, Will and James did provide plenty of help too. So it's not like they just took.
They did.
They did give help, and when in the dining room thing where they had to place the.
I mean, that's
silverware.
Right. I'm jumping on your theory of all three teams are under the impression that they're going to win money because that's the only way. That's the only way that it's going to be acceptable because yes, one team is only going to win it, but that one team, if it's Will and James, I don't see Will and James going, here you go, Hung and Chi, here's 25 grand, here you go, Volley Bros, here's 50.
Okay, I think the two most competitive teams are Will and James and the volleyballers. I think they'll turn on each other in a second right now in the final episode, no doubt. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like all four of their bitchy sides is coming out in this last episode.
I hope.
And
it's
I mean,
the only saving grace.
So let's say it's let's say it's Hung and Chi that finished second, right? Mm-hmm. Because besides the Volley Bros celebration, Hung and Chi, it was like they won a World Series plus, it's come to know that Hung and Chi are pregnant, right? That's the kind of celebration they were having. Like, cool, we're having another baby, yay! That she's going to just stand there and turn to her and go, well, at least I communicated with you this week.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Like, that's going to be
before we go to the final episode, let's do our final power rankings of the year, and Goldberg's going to start it off. Goldberg.
Yeah, okay. I'll go Hung and Chi third, the Beard Bros second, and Will and James first. So I guess our power rankings are how we think the final episode's going to turn out, I'm assuming.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Not based on the entire season. Just
how
I think it's going to end.
No, probably not. At this point, it's just final three anyway, so let's just give our what we think's probably going to happen. Calbert.
I gotta stick with Will and James first, but I may be rooting for Hung and Chi secretly.
Yeah, they might be the only redeemable team, like from a viewership viewership standpoint, maybe. But Calbert.
So I have, even though the Valley Bros finished first this last week, and they really have. I mentioned the boat metaphor a couple weeks ago. They really have just kind of driven the boat straight. It hasn't really hit anything. I think Riley and Madison finished third. I think it's going to be a cab issue. I think something stupid's going to happen, where for whatever reason, I mean, I've never been to New Orleans, but for whatever reason, the cab driver doesn't know where they need to go. It could be at night, so I don't know. But I think Riley and Madison finished third. I think Hung and Chi finished second. And I think Will and James win it all, and that'll make Goldberg happy because Goldberg will be correct, which will make me equally happy because at least at the end of the day, at least one of us got it right. So we got that. Yay. But
Beginner's luck.
beginner's luck. But so I have Riley and Madison.
You go to the casino, you always win the first time you go. That's how they
true.
get you to come back.
Yep. So I have the Volley Bros finishing third. I have Hung and Chi finishing second, and Chi being mad for more than just a minute and a half. I know that if he finishes second, he's allowed to be mad for more than a minute and a half. I'm giving you permission to be mad for more than a minute and a half if you finish second. And then I have Will and James winning it all, and James can go on to his purple cloud and have the trophy and count his money, and that'll be that. He gets his wish. He got to win the Amazing Race. Good for him. So
I got obviously no surprise. Third, I got Hung and Chi. Second, I got Will and James. And then they'll still be happy even though they took second. First, and then first I got the Volley Bros. They're like at this point now. Granted, maybe Hung and Chi would have won if that was the final leg because they would have been the only one to get that puzzle. But I think we're done with the puzzles, at least somewhat. And I think the final leg might just be, go do this, go do that, go do this. Might be just a bunch of challenges, and then
that looks like that's how it looks. The preview looks to me. I'm going to try and use English this time. That's how when I watch the preview, that's what it looks like to me. It's pretty much like a Mardi Gras setting, Fat Tuesday setting with.
Fat Tuesday? It might be like who can get the most guys' phone numbers on Will and James.
Yeah.
They got it. It's a wrap.
It ends in the Saints. Saints Stadium. So.
Yep,
it ends in the stadium.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yep.
And it's I think it's not that it matters, but I think it is a purple mat this year. Not that the color matters. Usually it's red.
It's purple.
It looked to me like it was purple. The mat.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
usually it's always. Oh gosh, usually it's always red. You know what? I'm just thinking. What if Michelle Victoria made it to the final leg? They would have had home court advantage there.
That's true.
This will never happen. It will never happen. But if I'm one of the teams that's standing there cheering for them as they cross the mat, not to go all WWE, but if I'm Victoria, no, Hung and Chi, you don't get to finish first.
Yeah.
Out.
Well, that's got to be Leo.
Yeah,
Leo.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
It's got to be Leo stopping Will and James from winning that thing.
It won't happen, but that would be funnier than hell.
That would be funny. Here's an even better one. This would be great. This would make for great TV if Will and James are in first, or it's a foot race to the finish line, and they all three get there almost kind of near the same time to where, I mean, they know who finished first or whatever, and Phil goes, "Congratulations, you've won the second to last leg of the Amazing Race," and then there's one more. Just to screw over that alliance. You know what? You three work together. Now we're gonna extend this one more week. Take it right out from under them.
That would be awesome. That would be great. Let's give a final grade for this episode. For me, I will give a generous 5.5 only because they had the memory
Oh.
task, which kind of saved it. Goldberg.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 4. I would give it like a 2, but D'Angelo's speech at the end bumps it up to a 4. Made for good TV.
Calbert.
Well, you gave it 5. Goldberg gave it 4. I'll give it a 3 to continue the trend. We're going down, technically. But yeah, it was just this episode. It looked easy to me. Doesn't mean it is, but it looked easy. I hope, just as a fan of the show, that the finale is something good. Like, even if Will and James win it all, make it at least interesting, right?
I think it
throw in
will be.
fancy
Now that
little-
they all have to be against each other now.
Yeah, they have to.
It's gotta
right.
be. They just. I mean, they're not helping each other anymore, so
No.
it's gotta be an all-out frantic race at this
Yeah.
point.
I mean, what's going to happen is if we have a good finale, it can kind of save for, in my opinion, I don't know if it's necessarily the worst season I've ever seen, but I wouldn't put it up in my top 10, that's for sure.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I
just
can't
don't
stand
like
the
story.
volleyballers, man. I can't stand them anymore.
Yeah.
I hope they finish
I'm
third.
glad I didn't pick them, even though they may win it. I'm glad I didn't pick them. I just
I
couldn't
think
stand. I wouldn't be able
all
to
liked them, and we all passed on them. None of us picked them,
Must have been the beards.
but I didn't know they were this like. I don't know what's the word. Not I don't know if arrogant's the right word, but there's just something about them that rubs me the wrong way.
I might actually watch volleyball in the Olympics, and if they're in there, I'll be rooting against them.
I think that's my. I'll say it for myself. I think that's the problem. That's why I didn't pick them, because they were just the volleyballs are just like meh to me. Like I'm sitting here trying to think outside of the table setting challenge. What have they really done that makes you go besides not you turning Will and James or Hung and Chi, right? They decided to U-turn D'Angelo and Gary. What have they really done? That goes, they suck. I hate their guts. I want them gone. You know,
They're a good team, though.
they're a good
team.
They're a good team.
I mean, they've done. If you look at the beginning, they did a lot of the tougher roadblocks, I thought, and then once they got their groove and they won a bunch in a row. I think they're the favorites, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win. Obviously,
I would agree. I agree.
Right, and as we saw, just even with this last week, just because you start first, that does not mean that's how you're going to finish. I mean, if we were to go off of that, then yes, Riley and Madison, in theory, I'm going to use a word, should win it. Now they can, obviously, because they're in third, but going off of the history of the show for this season, they should win this thing. They should just being the pro volleyball athletes that they are, put your head down, do what you need to do. Doesn't matter what Hung and Chi are doing, doesn't matter what Will and James are doing. Put your head down, time to go to work.
I mean, you remember season 28,
yeah.
The social media season?
Yep.
Remember the Frisbee Bros? I want to say they were 28. Remember them? They were very cocky, kind of like the Volley Bros. But the difference was the teams recognized them as a threat and said, we got to U-turn this team because they're the best team. And guess what? They got U-turned and then they got eliminated. So that's what the other team should have done to the Volley Bros. And they just never did. And but I don't know. We'll see. I have a tough time believing they're not going to win it. But
I just think I don't know. Obviously, I don't.
We haven't seen them. Have we seen them stumble really? I mean, besides the boat,
They stumbled with the boat.
yeah, okay, but not like you really haven't seen them stumble on a challenge, really.
Right.
Not to like a high level.
They had not to the Blondes territory with cab issues, but they had a small little hiccup with the cab. They were okay. They
Right.
survived, but that's about it. Like that's the thing. Like, and I think that's the most disappointing thing of this entire season. When it's going to be all said and done tomorrow, is that whoever wins this thing, to me, it's just a shoulder shrug. Okay. Like, I don't.
There's
really,
nobody to root for as a
nobody
viewer
root
standpoint.
Yeah, nobody.
You know what? I'm gonna have to make a case that the team to root for is Will and James right now.
Oh God, no, hell no.
I really think because at least they played the game somewhat.
They did.
The other ones have just been strung along, helping the alliance. No, there's been no hung and chi trying to get another team eliminated. The Beard Bros, other than helping the alliance, have not turned their back on anyone except for when they screwed the Blondes, but the Blondes were not in the alliance. At least Will and James. What?
Well,
Yeah,
kind of screwed them.
Well, they kind of screwed them, but their alliance was now down to 3 teams at that point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it wasn't. Yeah, they were down to 5 teams at that point, so they didn't really screw that. I mean, they're just, at least Will and James have gone out of their way to try and play the game. That's at least they're trying to play the game, which is why I think they should be the team to root for.
They're playing mind games, is what they're doing.
But
that's playing the game.
That's
at least they're doing something out there.
But who can't see? I mean, oh my God, I'm just frustrated that no other team could see that coming from a mile away. I mean,
maybe. Well, hold on. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's. Okay, I'm gonna be on the other side of the fence for just half a second. If I'm hung and chi, and so Will and James are doing that. If I'm hung and chi, and if I'm the Volley Bros, my thought is, okay, fine. We'll let them store a little memory in our head, right? And then when we beat them, we go, haha, you suck. You tried to mess with our heads, and it didn't work. And congratulations, you finished second. Right? Because at the end of the day, like that's the other thing too. Like I don't want to see because every team, all 3 teams said it last week. The alliance is over. It's the best. The best team wins now. Okay. So when you're standing on the mat tomorrow night and you finish 3rd or 2nd, I don't want you to go, well, we did say it was, the best team to finish wins it all, blah, blah, blah. You don't get to bitch then. You had your opportunity the week before and you could have gotten rid of them then. You didn't do it. So
Calbert, you remember who won season 29, right? It was the random partner season.
Yeah.
It was Brooke and Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Scott reminds me exactly of Will and James. He played the mental game, and they won. And his team won. So to your credit, Goldberg, that may be able to get the job done. So, but I these teams, man. If you don't watch The Amazing Race before you go on and you see these 2 teams, how they operate, and you're not going into future seasons being like, let's look out for this team because we know what they're doing. So.
I mean, yes. But the overall, like, here's the other thing too. Something that could happen that would make logical sense. It could be something that the mistake for tomorrow for the teams that finish 2nd or 3rd could be not reading the freaking clue all the way.
Yes.
Like, it can be that simple. So, like, I mean, you're right. Getting rid of the better teams is theoretically probably the better strategy. I would get rid of the lesser teams myself because, depending on where we are in the order of the show, whatever, it's just one less team, right? I think that
But get the Frisbee Bros out. Like the teams got the Frisbee Bros out. That was smart.
Yeah, the self-confidence team in me says, part of me says, no other team can beat me we're the best. Let's go. Right. That's why I'm not happy with what happened last week, but I get it. Right. These are the three best teams. They've been the three best teams for the entire show.
They have. They have. And then we can at least say that. These are the three best teams. Even though they did decide to team up, they were by far the best teams of the season. There's no question.
Right. So, I mean, like, look, at least we can say we beat the best teams for this show, right? For the season. So, I mean, like, that's me. Like, I'm with Goldberg about getting rid of the weaker teams, because at some point you don't want the weaker team to hang around. Because let's backtrack. Let's say
I'd want them to hang around.
Yeah,
just me. That's how I'd play.
Right.
But that'd be my mental game. Get all the weak teams to beat the strong teams, so then I can just eliminate them at the end.
Right.
But all right. Well, any final comments, Goldberg?
I'm glad well, I guess I can say this next week, but I'm glad you guys invited me on, and I'm glad I got to start watching the show again, even if this season's not all it's cracked out that it should be. But I enjoyed watching Amazing Race again. So
it's not bad. I don't want to say it's a bad season. It's got at least a good storyline, even though the storyline could have been better. But I mean, it's still the Amazing Race. I mean, we still had fun locations, good challenges,
different locations.
You still had all that. So it definitely wasn't a downer. It's just, you wish you had at least another season coming up, because this might be the last season we have for quite a while. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be a newer season. You know, we got the vaccine out. Maybe it'll be coming up again in probably 2022 at the earliest, I'd say.
I'll be on the next season.
There you go. There you go. Maybe I'll be on too, and we can just team up against all the other teams.
Nah, I'm going on with James.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're on with your team, and I'm on with my partner, and we'll just form an alliance.
Here, if you could pick one person from any team on the show this season to be your partner, who would it be?
Wow.
Paint Lick? We bringing him back?
I'd probably go. Gosh,
that's tough.
That's a
maybe Chi. I'd probably go Chi. I'd probably go Chi.
I think I would too. I think I'm going either Chi, or surprisingly enough, man, I think me and Leo would make a good team.
Probably.
We'd be the most hated team on the show, but
tight pants Leo. I thought it was a good strategy when it happened.
Or I'd pick one of the blondes, see if anything comes of it.
There you go. For other reasons. Calbert, any final thoughts before we go into the final episode?
I I really hope the finale is good. I'm glad that one of us is probably gonna get this right, and Goldberg was right from the beginning. So beginner's luck or not, hey,
you are jinxing me.
at least we got it right. And at the end of the day, man, I'm glad the show is back. I'm glad I beat you for our pick. That makes me feel good always.
Well, hey, it's not your first time. It's the second time.
This is true. It's a little bit of a trend now. One is the next, and two is a trend.
Hey, now you haven't won a season yet.
This is true.
You took second.
I'm glad. I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see what happens tomorrow night. And if I'm right with Will and James winning, then congrats to them, because they at least played the game. So.
Yeah, I think it's almost like this is their baby. Everybody else is just kind of a poser.
Yeah,
that's what it seems.
That's what it kind of seems like.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, maybe not so much hung in chi because they'll take whatever comes to them. But the Volley Bros, I feel like you can write a storyline no matter how this ends. You really can. You can flip the narrative and say, oh, Will and James got what they deserve for not winning. You could say the Volley Bros got what they deserve if Hung and Chi win. You know, you can go so many different ways with this.
Right.
But that's what I think might make this interesting. So, yeah, I'm for it. I'm for it.
Is it
I'm
1
looking
hour?
forward to it.
Is the finale 1 hour long? Yeah.
Yeah, it is only 1 hour.
Yep.
I believe, I don't have my guide in front of me, but it literally just says the 3 teams compete in New Orleans for the $1 million, and a team wins the $1 million. That's literally what I got for you this week. That's all it says, at least for my guide. So, and then I believe it goes. SWAT is on after that, and I think it's SEAL Team or SEAL Team and then SWAT. I think that's how it goes. SEAL Team and SWAT. I don't know. I should know the CBS lineup by now. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I do think it's interesting, by the way, that it's going to finish in New Orleans. That's a pretty interesting city for it to finish in. I think that's.
I think Will and James have partied there quite a few
I
times.
could imagine so.
Yeah, I think they've been to New Orleans, but they were on that terrible family season 8, where it was like teams of 4 and 5. I didn't care for that. They did go to New Orleans then, but other than that, I don't know if I remember a finale in New Orleans. So, yeah, that's tough. But all right, well, that'll do it for this show. We'll be back for the finale. Maybe tomorrow night, maybe the night after. We'll see. But that's it. We'll see you next week.